45 blowers are panicking because 45 has announced already that he's going to take away their food stamps and welfare. So they're panicking about that because then if the 45 blowers lose their food stamps and welfare, they got no income coming in because they don't work. I'm coming out of Cleveland, Ohio next month. Cuyahoga County, Ohio's second largest, will begin sending letters and flyers, making phone calls, and hosting information fairs to alert struggling citizens of a change about to befall them. Come April, able-bodied adults without children may lose their food stamps if they do not find work fast. This is what happens when you're a 45 blower and you don't want to work. 45 administration, the 45 administration rule change along in the making is about to become real, and by the administration's own estimates, nearly 700,000 people across the county, 20,000 of them in Ohio, 3,000 alone in Cleveland and Cuyahoga County, will be dropped from their food stamps, which will piss off a lot of the 45 blowers. That's a fairly big hit for the county and for the population, said Kevin Gowan, the administrator of a Cuyahoga County Cuyahoga Job and Family Services, which oversees the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, formerly and still popularly known as the food stamps. We're not happy to do it. It is our job, and we will fulfill the job. To the 45 administration, record low employment and steady income growth mean that there is no time like the present to nudge people off federal assistance. Around 40 million people across access the food stamp program each year. Nearly 300 million of them are able-bodied and without children. Of those 3 million, around 2 million do not work. Millions and millions of people don't need food stamps anymore, says 45 declared this week at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland. Well, your supporters do because they don't work. For Carl Thomas, a 48-year-old with a high school degree, it is not that simple. He spends most of his time holed up at a public library making use of its internet access to apply for all the jobs he can find. Yeah, that's another problem that I have too. Even though I am able-bodied, I do look for jobs. A lot of the time, the jobs don't call back. Before 2016, when his mother died at the age of 84 from sepsis, he spent most of his time caring for her. He had been job hunting ever since her death. Some employees want to see a lengthy work history and a college degree. Some are far away and he does not have a car. On the 6th day of every month, Thomas plans out how he is going to make his $194 in food assistance stretch. Coupons in hands, he walks or takes the bus to Walmart, Giant Eagle, and Dave's Market to find the lowest prices on meat, vegetables, and produce he could find. He is ecstatic when seeded red grapes go on sale because that seems to be his favorite item. The lifeline could soon disappear. Able-bodied adults with no children lose their food assistance if they fail to work 80 hours a month for three months in a year, in a 3-year period, or unless they live in a state with a waiver. Under the looming changes, waivers from this work requirement, once common, will be much harder to come by. 14 states and New York City and the District of Columbia have all sued the 45 administration to block the new rules from going into effect in April, accusing the administration of doing an illegal end run around Congress. Cuyahoga County and its urban heart, Cleveland, are preparing for the worst. They will start by conducting 2 information fairs every month starting in February. They will also call and send mail to people, which will explicitly tell them the ramifications of non-compliance, Gowan said, while stressing that it is time to achieve self-efficiency. By some accounts, Ohio has yet to recover from the recessions of the early and late 2000s. A healthier job market has not led to significantly higher wages. In 2018, 5 of Greater Cleveland's 10 most common jobs, retail sales, food preparation and service, cashiers, waiting tables, and janitorial and cleaning work, did not pay enough for people to afford food without assistance, according to the Policy Matters Ohio, a research organization. But even for struggling areas like Cuyahoga County, where the majority of food assistance recipients in Ohio live, the bar was still being too high for waivers from Washington's work requirement. Such waivers will only go to labor market areas defined by the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and an area's unemployment rate would have to be both 20% above the national unemployment rate over a 2-year period and at least 6%. For Cleveland's poor such economic thresholds and measurements, they may feel remote, but in April their responsibilities under the new system will become very real. People seeking food assistance will have to track their work hours each week and report them by mail, phone, or in person. County officials say they will look for individual exemptions based on physical or mental limitations. Already, applicants for food assistance take part in an initial phone screening and then an in-person assessment test to determine if they're exempt from work requirements. Gowan said only 20% of those eligible make it through the assessment process. In general, people don't want the government involved in their personal lives. He said local anti-poverty advocates worry that people who should be exempt from the work requirements will be kicked out the food stamp rolls anyway. Notifying people of the rule change will be challenging because food stamp recipients often lack a permanent home address or reliable phone service. Even if they do know of the rule, the paperwork may be confusing, said Rachel Cahill, a Cleveland-based consultant for Cuyahoga Job and Family Services. People may not work because they lack educational qualifications and transportation to surrounding towns with more employment. They may also face discrimination in the hiring process because of the color of their skin or their gender. And struggling people tend to have complications in their lives that would challenge anyone. The one guy that they were talking about earlier, Thomas's late mother, had left behind $25,000 in medical debt, and her house where he lives may be ceased to pay it off. He said he would likely end up being homeless. Savannah Thompson, 22, has been on and off food stamps for years. Finding a job in Cleveland is difficult, she said, and so are getting food stamps. Sometimes I honestly wish I had just never ever applied for food stamps because it's very complicated, she said. Thompson has worked multiple low-wage jobs, including seasonal work at the Cleveland Baseball Stadium, where her hours are determined by how long the games go on, at a Dollar General store and a Subway, and for Amazon before getting injured lifting a box, and then she got laid off. Thompson said she is saddened by the new food stamp rule. That's how people eat, she said. The Greater Cleveland Food Bank worries that the rule will move people out of the grocery store and into the food pantry line. We know SNAP is the largest defense against hunger, said Tiffany Scruggs, the director of outreach at the food bank. We know with cuts like these, we can't supplement and make up for the shortfalls. Feeding America, which the Greater Cleveland Food Bank is part of, estimates that for every meal provided by the food bank, the food stamps program provides 9. The program kept more than 3 million people out of poverty in 2018. And April's rule change may be just the beginning. 2 other rules to trim the food stamp rolls are pending. More than 100,000 more Ohioans could lose benefits under one rule change, according to mathematical policy research at Cambridge, Massachusetts, and 41% of the Ohio households would see a decrease in their benefits under the other. $45 a month on average, according to the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities in Washington. Thomas spends 24 hours a month answering phones and handling income packages at a university settlement, a food pantry in Cleveland that he also relies on when his food assistance runs out. He hopes to find a full-time job. Not everybody wants to be on government assistance, he said. There are people who want to be self-reliant. Sometimes you just need some help, just a little bit to get back on their feet. Yeah, when they were talking about a lot of the food stamp people not having a job, that's because they're 45 blowers and they're living in a trailer home selling meth out of the trailer. That's why, and the 45 blowers rely on these food stamps because they don't work, they don't want to work, they just spend a lot of time at home, fucking their sister and their mother, and then it's like they don't want to have to go looking for jobs if they don't have to, so they rely on these food stamps. And they think that by selling meth out of the trailer and they're and collecting the food stamps and welfare, they think that they can survive on that. You can't.